The Lost City. Loretta's sage, Sandra Bullock, is a writer known for composing clearing experiences highlighting an imaginary legend named Run. She's amidst thinking of her most recent book, envisioning herself and Run in a hazardous circumstance including snakes and colleagues. Notwithstanding, she noticed specific things amiss with it and erases everything. She winds up constrained over the demise of her Voyager spouse from years earlier, alongside her marketing expert, Divine Satisfaction Randolph, who's requesting to see the most recent draft of her book. Later on, Loretta, wearing a purple sequin jumpsuit, is welcomed to an exhibition to talk about the book, egged on by her marketing expert and her web-based entertainment director, Patty Harrison. She's reluctant to go when she discovers that the cover model for Run, Alan Capri's son, Channing Tatum, will likewise be there. She goes at any rate, and Alan comes in front of an audience to immense praise from the fans, wearing a phony blonde hairpiece. Someplace over the middle of the show, a fan requests Run to plunge Loretta. She endeavors to make a cursory effort, however rips off Alan's blonde hairpiece, finishing the show suddenly. In the wake of being censured by her marketing expert, Loretta finds her direction outside as opposed to heading to the following meeting she should be at. She isolates from Alan after a battle. She requires a vehicle and is out of nowhere gotten in a dark SUV and encircled by baffling thugs. Alan sees her heading out and attempts to seek after them, without any result. Loretta encounters Abigail Fairfax, Daniel Radcliffe, a whimsical tycoon who attempts to charm her with a lot of cheeses. He makes sense of that a relic indicates a puzzling fortune off of a little island, which could be cleaned away by a well of lava prepared to eject without warning. He requests that Loretta name her cost, however she rejects. He then, at that point, uncovers that they have a plane sitting tight for her, and he takes her out. Back at the inn, Alan feels culpability for what has been going on with Loretta. He, her marketing specialist, and her virtual entertainment chief attempt to find her. He ultimately calls an old mate he did yoga with, Jack Mentor, Brad Pitt, to assist with finding her by means of her savvy. He advises Alan to meet him on the island and he'll have her covered in 48 hours or less. Loretta stirs and is directed to a campsite where Abigail has settled in to explore the area of the fortune on the island. He has Loretta secured and requests she get to work. In the meantime, Alan advances toward the island in unadulterated touristy style and gets together with Jack, and the two go off in a little vehicle to Abigail's compound. After a short rest, Abigail pressures Loretta much more to interpret the little piece he's found indicating the fortune. She deciphers it, however he believes that her should rehash it. In the meantime, Coach dispatches of some of his soldiers while Alan, kept out of the vehicle he should remain in, fills in as a futile reinforcement, sporadically slapping a thug or two. The pair ultimately advance toward Loretta, yet can't unfasten her out of the seat. They wind up conveying her, seat and all, out of the compound as blasts go off. They advance back to the vehicle, yet before they can leave, Jack is shot in the head, with his mines all around Alan's face. They in the long run load into the vehicle, with Loretta still in the seat, and take off. Abigail, enraged that Loretta took the main unique piece with her, requests her recover. Loretta and Alan pull over after a fast getaway, after Loretta had dropped out of the vehicle. Alan liberates her from the seat, yet after they return to the vehicle, it falls over the side of the precipice, leaving them incapable to contact the specialists. They ultimately advance toward the vehicle, yet the telephone is obliterated, and Alan recommends they go through the wilderness to get to the air terminal to arrive at the specialists. Abigail's powers stay close behind. After a speedy trip in a little pound that leaves Alan covered with leeches, particularly on his butt, Loretta takes them out and afterward ultimately arrives at a cascade. It's here that Loretta utilizes the sign she took from Abigail to translate the remainder of the strange riddle he was attempting to tackle, showing the fortune is concealed in some place with vast tears. The two then, at that point, end up almost gotten by Abigail's thugs, scaling a mountain to get away from them. Alan attempts to help Loretta by pushing her from beneath, with his head between her legs. Ultimately, they come to the top. The two set up for business, discussing the experience they've had while at last nodding off in a fairly little lounger. In the meantime, Abigail calls upon a triplet of bike-riding hooligans to participate in the pursuit. In the first part of the day, Loretta at last lets Alan know her thought process of him, making sense of that he's simply a cover model searching for consideration. Alan really uncovers he came from a family and appreciates being run, as it fulfills the fans, and hates Loretta for doing whatever it takes not to satisfy the fans. The pair start moving once more, in the long run advancing toward a little town. In the wake of chatting with the neighborhood police for assurance, the team get tidied up and begin to get to know the town society. Meanwhile, the marketing expert has volunteered to seek after Loretta and get her covered. She takes a little sanction to a minuscule air terminal, where they in the end tell her there's no ride. It's here she meets Oscar Nunez, and his goat, who are glad to take her there by transport. She ultimately arrives at a little police headquarters, just for them to tell her they're shut. She at last persuades them to help her. After a fast dance, egged on by a neighborhood lady, Loretta gains from her a sign where the pool of vast tears could possibly be, and demands Alan to accompany her to chase the fortune down. Eager to find her experienced soul once more, she persuades him and he goes to get a few supplies. Be that as it may, she finds Abigail pausing, who recovers her and starts to drive off. Alan follows on a little motorbike. Following a concise pursuit, Loretta sets within the vehicle ablaze while Alan battles, ineffectively, against hooligans up top. Ultimately, the two are caught and prompted the island, where Abigail angrily needs to track down the fortune. They advance inside, where one of his hooligans tumbles off a precipice side subsequent to deriding Loretta. They deal with a little passage and find a burial chamber holding up inside. Subsequent to opening up a grave forcibly, it's found that the fortune is just gathered shells, a demonstration of adoration for a man to his dearest. Furious that they don't track down anything, Abigail traps Loretta and Alan inside a burial chamber as the spring of gushing lava starts to emit, however not before his thug leaves them a crowbar. Following a discussion for a couple of moments about the experience they'd had, Alan utilizes the crowbar to get the pair out. Abigail is met by the marketing expert and the police powers, where he imagines he's a guiltless casualty after his cohort takes off with the boat. In the interim, Loretta and Alan scarcely get away from the burial place after numerous blasts, just to be recuperated by the marketing expert. In the wake of coming clean about Abigail, he endeavors to get away, however is handled by Oscar, who says he has the marketing specialist's back. Loretta and Alan recuperate on a close-by rock, reproducing the cover for her next book, which distributes months after the fact. In the last scene, the marketing expert, the virtual entertainment supervisor, and Oscar are loosening up on an island following the send-off of their book, while Loretta and Alan are close by, discussing the relationship they've made throughout their experience. After a touch of odd discussion, they kiss. In a mid-credits succession, Loretta and Alan are participating in some loosening up yoga. Here Jack Coach returns. They're in shock that he's as yet alive, and he can't resist the urge to give them odd looks as they return to their unwinding.